Hey guys, it's Fern, and welcome to another video by the Circus System. I'm very anxious about doing this video, but I think I'm ready to. I think it's something I'm okay to talk about now, and something that I think can help a lot of other systems in things they may also be having issues with. So yeah, sorry. So I'm Fern. I'm a fictive of the character Fern from the show Adventure Time. In talking through this video, there will be Adventure Time spoilers, but the show's been out long enough that I don't think it really matters, and you can exit the video if you don't want to see. But it's basically like end of the show spoilers. So, if you have seen Adventure Time, you will understand that, or know that my character was not a healthy one, I suppose. I had lots of issues involving who I was, what I was, and what I was going to be. It was very much an identity issue because I was Finn, but I wasn't Finn, and it was very confusing. And I die at the end of the show. I died. And then I woke up here in this body, and I didn't know what was going on for the longest time. It was a very, very difficult time for me, and I barely ever left the headspace. I basically hid away. Anytime I fronted, it was only for maybe 10 minutes maximum, because I would just freak out and I couldn't do it, and I would run away. It was all a very difficult time for me, and it still is, I'll admit. We also have a Nupter fictive, and he's helped me a lot through all this and figuring out what's going on. But it's been very rough because all I ever wanted was a flesh body. I was trapped made of plants, and now I have one, and this is not... Adjusting to being a system was extremely difficult for me. I didn't understand what the system was. I didn't understand why there were so many other beings here. I didn't understand why I was not me. And it was a very stressful time for me. And it's still difficult to talk about because I'm not even fully adjusted yet. But I feel like I can speak about it well enough, and can also possibly provide advice for others who may be struggling with being a system, especially fictives, who do identify strongly with their source. I know a lot don't, but I do. I very much identify with my source, who I was. I have those memories. One of the biggest issues with me in adapting was that even before in my source, I never knew really what I was. I was always confused. I wasn't Finn, but I wasn't not Finn. I was Finn. I remember being Finn, but then I wasn't Finn, and sorry, this is getting really rambly. It wasn't supposed to be. When it comes to adjusting to and realizing your system and trying your best to adapt to that, the main thing I can give advice about would just be finding someone in your system you connect with. For me, I suppose I got lucky in the way that there are a lot of others here from my source, and Nepter and I were always close before, so seeing him here was really nice, and that helped me a lot in adjusting. So finding people or someone that you know can help and will understand how you're feeling is really important. It's also, this was harder for me, but after I started doing it and got help from members of the system outside of my source, was really just jumping into it. And I would always run away and be scared to be out front, but I just kind of let myself, or made myself, do it. Anytime I was up front, I would not run away. I would force myself to stay up front as long as I could, and doing that did help me kind of adjust and understand more what the system really was. I also started talking to more system mates within the headspace before I really would just lock myself in my little area, and I never really spoke to anyone besides Nepter. I didn't even really talk to our other Adventure Time people. I just basically only talked to Nepter. He was the only one I really knew and trusted. And doing that isolated myself even more than I was doing so to myself. So it's really important to make sure you let yourself be out there. Do not limit yourself even though you are scared or uncomfortable, you don't understand. It's important to communicate and speak with your other system mates, because they're not going anywhere. You're gonna have to deal with them. So that was the big thing, was admitting to myself that I was a system. I was part of a system. I was very much in denial for the longest time. I thought it was just some weird afterlife, but that's not what it is. And realizing that I am Fern, but I'm not Fern, was a struggle. Especially because our host, I guess, enjoys Adventure Time, obviously, or we wouldn't have split from her. But she's rewatched it a few times since I formed, and it's been weird, but also oddly therapeutic. At first, the first time we rewatched it when I was formed, I hated it. I would hide every time it was on, especially when it got to the point where I, as Fern, existed. But even just watching Finn do things was so odd because I remember doing those things. But eventually it helped me kind of realize that, oh, that can't be me because I'm on that screen. That's a different version of me. I'm a different version of that, and we are not the same, even if we feel the same or have the same identity. And that was a really good thing to acknowledge, that I am me, but that doesn't trap me into being just Fern. I can grow now that I'm here. I'm not stuck being what I was. And one of the most liberating things, and this is entirely a personal, other fictives wouldn't quite understand this, but because I was under the control of something else when I was in my source, being here I have the ability to freely be myself, and realizing that was very powerful and helped me a lot in my, I don't want to quite use the word recovery, but definitely in realizing what I was, where I was, and who I was. I feel like this is more of just a ramble than even advice. I'm trying. Hopefully it can be helpful somewhat. But my main message, I suppose, is that if you are feeling as a fictive or even as an original alter, if you're feeling lost or stuck due to exo memories or just emotions from your past, it's important to find people that you can trust and rely on, and important to acknowledge what you are and not to try to hide from it. It can be very difficult to come to that realization and to admit to yourself that you are a fictive in a system and you are not your character exactly. It is difficult, but once that gap was reached, everything else became a lot easier. I can front for more significant amounts of time. It's already been over 10 minutes. And yeah, it was just acknowledging that, and I still do have issues. I obviously still hold my exo memories and hold that exo trauma, and it still affects me. But I don't let it debilitate me the way it did, and I actually come to my system mates and ask for help when I'm struggling. And that was the big thing, was actually going to these people who share the same body and acknowledging them. I feel like I'm using the word acknowledge a lot, but that's really all it was getting out of the denial that I wasn't in the situation I was, and really realizing that I'm in a system and that's not going to change. I feel like I'm going in circles at this point just because it's difficult to talk about even still, but I'm definitely feeling a lot better in the situation I'm in and a lot more confident in this skin. It's definitely still disorienting looking at the phone and seeing the body's face. When in headspace, I do still look like myself. But yeah, it's difficult. Being a system is, for a multitude of reasons, and this was not even one of the ones I'd expected to be an issue. But I've come out a lot better than I was originally, and I can only thank my system mates for that. And that's just something important to realize, is that your system is like a family. They're gonna be there for you, even if you're not their favorite system mate. We all share a body, so we need to help each other. I think I'm just gonna leave it at that, because I'm sort of rambling, and I feel like I'm not all that coherent. But yeah, just accept who you are, what situation you're in, and look for friends to confide in. And that is really the best way I was able to adjust to being in the system and adjust to not being in a TV show anymore. But yeah, so I thank you all for watching. I hoped this was at least a little helpful, even though it was mostly rambly, and it is a lot of personal experience, but I feel like that can still assist other fictives. Yeah, so thank you, and hope you guys had a good time at the circus.